Hello everyone, welcome to my Bourne Conspiracy Assassin difficulty walkthrough. This is Mission 5, Escape the Embassy, and if anyone has watched the Bourne Identity, you will know that this mission is meant to be a reimagining of the embassy scene from the Bourne Identity, because Bourne did go to an embassy in that movie, only compared to the movie, this one he's dealing with a lot more enemies, because in the movie he only ever dealt with 3 guys. And he never had to deal with the Marines because they were always like chasing him down, and they did not get any kind of line of sight with him. But here, they wanted to make it a little bit more accommodating for a gameplay purpose, just to give the player more involvement in this mission. So not only are we dealing with those 3 guys at the start, not only are we running away from Marines, only this time the Marines have a line of sight on us and they're shooting us. We also have some additional enemies to deal with, enemies that Bourne did not encounter in the Bourne Identity. So it's all pretty simple because this is a melee-focused mission. And saving up on your adrenaline is very simple to do because, of course, melee is just the best way to build up on your adrenaline. And there are definitely some situations where it's best to use your running attack in order to take down the enemies instantly. As long as you're in these combat encounters, the Marines will not push up. The moment you exit the combat encounters, the Marines will push up, and so you have to run. It's not that big of a deal. The time limit that they give you is very generous, which is how it should be for this game. I just wish it was the same case for the Escape the Professor mission, and if you watched my Mission 3 video, you'll understand that I don't like the Escape the Professor mission because it's a poorly designed boss fight with a not-so-generous timer that clearly wasn't designed with the fight in mind. It's almost like the developers just put in the time limit independent of the actual fight. Like, they didn't actually look at how the fight would actually progress before putting in the time, and it's just 2 disconnected events that just don't link properly together, and it just leads to the mess that is the Escape the Professor mission. And this was not the case in the Escape the Embassy mission, so I just wonder why it was so different with that boss fight. It really doesn't make any sense. But not much to really say about this mission, given how simple it is, because all the melee missions in the Bourne Conspiracy are very simple. There's only about, I think, 3 of them. There's the first mission, then there's this mission, and then there is the Castell fight, and that's really it for melee-focused missions. The rest have a combination of melee and gun-focused missions. So, yeah, that's how it's going to go. But at least this one, I feel, is my favorite of the melee missions, because this one is a lot more engaging, with really cool music, and it's building upon a set piece that was established in the Bourne Identity. And I should talk about the Bourne Identity, because I didn't actually watch the Bourne Identity as my first film. The first Bourne film that I ever watched was Bourne Ultimatum, and Bourne Ultimatum is regarded by many as being the best Bourne film, and I can totally understand that, because like there's certain scenes, like when Bourne is trying to make sure that guy in Waterloo Station stays alive, and it really feels like a properly coordinated like attempt, like almost on par with what you'd be seeing in like Homeland, for instance, where the main characters are trying to keep this person alive and avoid enemy hostiles through radio or through some kind of communication, and it definitely makes it feel more engaging that way. And also, the fight scene that occurs between Bourne and Desh is one of the coolest fight scenes I've ever seen in movie history. Because not only is the fight choreography really good, but it doesn't have any music playing. So all you hear is just the sound effects of the punching and just the characters breathing. And, you know, I find it funny in my case, because whenever I hear the breathing in certain parts of the Bourne versus Desh fight, I can't help but laugh, and I think it's mainly because I don't hear breathing that often in movies to the same degree as what you'd be getting in the Bourne versus Desh fight, and so it triggers positive stimuli in my mind on a humorous side. But on a more serious note, it makes you feel more connected to the fight that is occurring between Bourne and Desh, because it's trying to capture this struggle to survive from 2 trained operatives, pretty much. I mean, obviously, like, the trained operatives part might not sit well with those who like grounded characters. I mean, I, in particular, would prefer grounded protagonists. Like, I stopped liking the secret agents or superhumans. I mean, I still like the Marvel shows, don't get me wrong. I do like them for what they are. But in terms of, like, actual character, like, connection, I just can't really connect the same way like I would with grounded characters like Ethan Winters. And, you know, I used to be a Bourne fan, but not anymore. Like, I used to, like, have this hero worship for Jason Bourne, but I really don't anymore. And the last 2 films of the Bourne series are horrible. I can't even remember what happens in those last 2 films. All I remember is this guy that's not Jason Bourne being the main character for Bourne Legacy, and then in the final Jason Bourne film, I fell asleep while I was in the theater. because I was just so bored out of my mind, and also I was just tired at the time, and I'm glad I slept through it because it wasn't the best movie, and they just introduced Jason Bourne for the heck of it as like one final hurrah just to send off his character. And even Matt Damon felt that Jason Bourne's character was being used way too often. So that's why they just concluded the film right there, and it was just a terrible ending. Like, the series should have ended at Bourne Ultimatum, but it didn't. And with regards to Bourne Identity, I don't know when I watched Bourne Identity. I don't remember if I played the Bourne Conspiracy first, then I watched Bourne Identity. I think it was that case. But, you know, when I look back at the Bourne Identity, a lot of people do like that film, but there are just some cheesy moments within the Bourne Identity, and also some really odd choices of soundtrack. And then Marie is just a very annoying character. She's just such a stereotypical female character in a lot of these old films back in like, the 2000s era or something. And it just, the fight choreography didn't feel that impactful compared to Bourne Ultimatum, and the camera work wasn't really interesting for the Bourne Identity. And it just felt a little bit more reserved, not quite to the same degree as with Bourne Ultimatum, and that's why I don't really like the Bourne Identity anymore. I just think it hasn't aged well, pretty much. That's my main reasoning for it. It hasn't aged well as a film, whereas you go to Bourne Ultimatum, and you really feel like the film has aged well. So that's why I can enjoy that film a little bit more compared to Bourne Identity. And like the story in Bourne Identity is pretty simple. It's just one guy just trying to recover his identity. And, you know, looking back, you know, back then, my past self would be so interested by Bourne's abilities, but now when I look back at Bourne's abilities, I'm not really that interested anymore, because, you know, a lot of them just seem like abilities just given for the sake of convenience, just to make it more entertaining, and nothing else. But at the same time, there is still some kind of coolness to it, and that's what I'll say about that with regards to Bourne's character. But yeah, that's all I have to say about that, and this is pretty much the end of this video, because this level is really short. So stay tuned for the future missions. Thank you all for watching, and you take care now.